Imagine you lived in an America where the question of foreign policy wasn't how will you react to other countries and help protect the Americans abroad, but it was will you open discussions with new countries at all? Well, it happened. Just over 100 years ago, that was the question. Will you? It's something that everyone had and has an opinion on, but it was so controversial that no one really wants to talk about it. And that debate on isolationism stems from the previous 100 years of American history. Every great story has context. Think about the Iliad. Before you can read the Iliad, you have to know what was happening in Greek mythology and Greek history. Well, American history is the same. So I'm going to provide some context for you. The founding fathers were massive fans of isolationism. Even till the end of his term, Washington was an isolationist. Take a look at his farewell address. Open quotes, "To the efficiency and permanency of our Union, a government for the whole is indispensable. No alliance, however strict, between the parts can be an adequate substitute. They must inevitably experience the infractions and interruptions which all alliances in all times have experienced." End quote. Basically, he's warning us against foreign interference, as it could lead to the collapse of our own union. To give him credit, he was publishing this at the time of the French Revolution. King Louis's head just got cut off. Take a look at Hamilton, the musical, for the best example of what that was like.
One last time, relax, have a drink with me. One last time, let's take a break tonight, and then we'll teach you how to say goodbye. To say goodbye, you and I want to talk about neutrality with Britain and France on the verge of war. Is this the best? I want to warn against partisan fighting. Pick up a pen, start writing.
Kept up until 1823, when it was practically law thanks to the Monroe Doctrine, with its four main points of interest. 1. The U.S. would not interfere with internal foreign affairs or the wars inside of Europe. 2. The West was closed for colonization and control. 3. Any attempt to colonize new parts of the West would result in the hostile response from the United States. And 4. The U.S. recognized and would not interfere with current colonies and dependencies in the Western Hemisphere. This does, however, allow America to be the sole country and influencer of the Latin and Central America, starting an American imperialism light of the Western Hemisphere. This was where America lived happily and flourished till the end of the Civil War and the start of industrialism, and the start of the titans of industry. And that's where we start to want to expand into new markets. However, this also is a massive influx in social change and want for change, whether it's religious or for the rights. The difference of economic imperialism and the social aspect is grand, but both led to us, the United States, becoming a world superpower. The Panama Canal was built just with the intent to make a profit. It started with the Spooner Act of 1902, which granted the purchasing rights to the United States. At the time, Panama was a part of Colombia. Due to this, it took massive amounts of effort of cooperation and relationship building from America and Colombia to grant Panama independence so America could build its canal. By 1903, the canal started its construction, splitting the continent in half. This is the start of American business holding control in foreign nations. Yes, this did technically happen with Mexico, but they had to grant a country independence to build this canal. America was now involved with the political aspect of nations as well as making some new nations as it went along. The Boxer Rebellion of China was the exact opposite of the Panama Canal. At the turn of the century, the Chinese people revolted against the Qing dynasty, which isn't all that new. China goes through these periods of civil unrest and revolt, and a new emperor every 150 years or so. The only difference is it wasn't a civil war. Britain, Russia, France, Italy, Japan, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and the United States were involved, ending the Monroe Doctrine. On August 14th, 1900, 19,000 troops stormed the capital of Beijing, making the empress and her court flee to the city of Shenxi. This left the princes to conduct the negotiations with the foreign powers. And this isn't all that new with countries meddling in China. Look at the Opium Wars, or plenty of other wars that led to Hong Kong and stuff. But America got involved. And this is also around the same time as when America goes, hey, Japan, you're going to trade with us and you're going to like it. So we can really see this Monroe Doctrine really start to fall apart and crumble. Not only do we now have a profit reason, we also have a social reason. Sure, there was profit to be made in China, but nowhere near making a middle passage from the Western Hemisphere to the other side of the Western Hemisphere. It just wasn't the same profit margins. But now it's time to talk about the Spanish-American War, fought for both profit and for social. 1895 saw the Cuban Rebellion. This hurt American interest, about $50 million worth in 1895 money. This almost ends trade with Cuba. Under General Valeriano El Comisario, or the Butcher, he put Cubans in reconcentration areas. They lacked shelter, food, sanitation, medicine, and thousands died. And all of this was on display to the public in the Joseph Rutzler's New York World and William Randolph's New York Journalism. This struck humanitarians in the United States. So now we see why American business people want to get involved and why the humanitarians want to get involved. Again, really this shifting balance between, are we here for business or are we here to keep people alive with the basic rights they're supposed to have that we founded with John Locke and the Enlightenment movement and the Declaration of Independence. In 1896, both houses of Congress were in favor of war to help protect the rights. However, this was ignored by President Cleveland and President McKinley, who both wanted peace. However, they both made it clear to the Minister of Spain that America would not sit by and watch bloodshed. In 1897, Spain argued for peace and urged for peace to allow elections and the end of the reconcentration camps. However, the rebels, after years of fighting, only wanted independence. In response to the war continuing, the United States put the USS Maine on the coast of Havana. Soon, about 6 days later, on February 15th, 1898, the USS Maine exploded, killing over 260 men and crew. No one knows exactly who or what caused the explosion. Many believe it was some landmines. However, evidence of a torpedo was found. It's a big deal. However, yellow journalism, the act of using lurid features and sensational news and newspapers to attract newspaper readers, popularized this slogan: "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain." It became a very popular war cry. This led to everyone, Republicans, Democrats, religious, everyone was calling for war with Spain. And soon, war with Spain happened. However, Spain did ask European powers to help interfere and help control America, and what Spain got in return was a nicely worded email saying no. And if they said yes, it was a can you please stop America? No one asked for your opinion. That's all I pretty much wrote back. So, why was any of that information important in the slightest? Well, it brings up the question, was America imperializing to imperialize? Why, maybe? Or was America there to help cultures and help people become free people by making them American territories, where we then exploited their resources like Hawaii and Alaska to make more wealthy men wealthy, like Dole pineapples? So, to answer the question, what do I believe? Do I believe America was here for economic reasons, or do I believe America was here for social well being? Well, sadly, for the land of the free and home of the brave, I feel like it was for economic reasons. As much as I would love to say for social, the only real big social was the USS Maine. I mean, yeah, the revolution in China was very morally based, but this allows America to set up trade with Hong Kong and Macau and Beijing, and it helps sets up this other domestic place to start trading, and a whole new market of people just now getting exposed to all of these new revelations of the 20th century.